Howdy folks, this is Andy Curry. Listen, I just got done writing some articles on horse training that are about to be distributed all over the internet, and these topics are pretty popular and pretty important, so I just wanted to go over a little bit on the topics to give you a little bit of heads up and teach you a little bit more than just what the articles show. The first one, as you can see here, is called Discover How to Train Horses. And the first thing it talks about is transference. Transference in horse training is really important. And like the article says, let's say you want to teach your horse to laugh on cue. Now he's not really laughing, but it just kind of looks like it, or he's making a real big smile. When you accomplish this, which doesn't take much, you have really learned a pretty big, significant clue on how to train horses. Now eventually, when you're holding a lead rope, you'll be holding up your index finger, and then you'll tug on the rope and your horse will start smiling or laughing. Now why does he do that? That's because you're transferring the cue from your index finger. Now one thing you need to know that this article doesn't say is that horses are extremely observant, and when they see you tugging on that rope and then they see your index finger pointing up, that's when they'll know to do their cue. Now why do that? Well, first of all, the unsuspecting person won't know that you're cueing the horse. Besides, it's fun to do. And what I mean by transferring the cue is really essential in training horses. When you learn how to train horses, you're going to do this kind of stuff in ground training. You're going to do it from the saddle and so on. So think of it this way. When you're ground training, you're asking your horse to move, for instance, in different gaits. Once he gets that pretty good, you'll be in the saddle and then you'll ask him to do it again from the saddle. You're transferring those cues. That's another example of how to train horses. From the ground, you use certain cues to get him to walk, trot, and lope. But now, in the saddle, you'll be doing it different ways to get your horse to walk, trot, and lope. Sometimes you may be squeezing your legs to get a certain response. Sometimes you may cluck to him or kiss to him. And just remember, there's a logical sequence of events you need to follow to transfer the cues. If you don't have that logical sequence, you'll struggle to get your horse doing what you want. And you may start to think, well, I don't know how to train horses, and you may fail at it before you get started. Now, one of the reasons you don't want to change cues is because your horse will suddenly not know what you're talking about. But you can certainly transfer them. So just be sure he learns the cue before you start transferring him. That's the most important, and that's the key in how to train horses. Now when you're learning how to train horses, say you're riding out away from the barn, or you're riding with another group of other riders, and let's say your horse doesn't want to go by the barn, he wants to go to it, but you don't want him to. Now he may argue with you. He may turn there and want to go that direction. That's okay if he does. But the thing is, if you don't want him to, then you cannot let him win. If you let him go, you will teach him that he can go where he wants to go. Why is that? Because you released, and he went ahead and went to the barn. And what I mean by released is you basically said, okay, go ahead. But if you don't let him go to the barn, and you don't release the pressure, then you taught him he cannot go where he wants to go. And since you want to learn to train horses, you've got to be sure to educate yourself as much as possible, because there's a lot to learn at first, and it will be confusing and frustrating to you. I really encourage you to read books and watch videos on that as much as possible. If you come to Superstars of Horse Training, we have all kinds of things to educate you on this. We got videos, manuals, kits on how to do various things.